Your test tomorrow is no calculator. You need to show me as much work as you possibly can. Don't do a bunch of stuff in your head and just show an answer because you're not going to get credit for it. You've got to show me the work behind what you're doing, okay? Very straightforward. You're going to have a question that looks like this, where I give you a bunch of matrices and I tell you to add them, subtract them, multiply them. They'll have different things you have to do. So just make sure you know what to do in those situations. We'll go through it here in a second. If you had a question like this, where it says solve for x, and you're given the matrix, you're given all the matrices A and B, how would you first solve this equation for x?
Isolate the x.
Isolate the x. So we're going to subtract a from both sides, right? So 2x equals b minus a. And then what?
Then you divide by 2.
Divide by 2. So what, in a sense, you would have is you'd have x equals b minus a divided by 2. Or you could say b minus a, the two matrices, and then multiply every entry by 1/2, right? Or divide every entry by 2, whatever.
Wait, so basically you just like you'd start off with like the b minus the a first, and then
Yeah.
after you get the answer, you divide by 2.
Everything by 2. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so then, guys, we come to questions like this. All right, let's call this one number 1. Before you even start it, what is this question asking you to do?
Distribute.
Okay, you got to distribute. You have to multiply the A matrix by 4 and the B matrix by -5. So that's what you need to do first. You need to write down 4 and then write out the A matrix. 4, -1, -1, 7. Make sure you write your numbers right. 7, 3, 5. Then we have -5. And then what is B? -4, 6. 8, -3. Okay, so let's distribute. Distribute that 4 means you're going to multiply everything in here by 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times -1, -4. 4 times 7, 28. 4 times 7, 28. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 5, 20. Correct?
Yeah.
Now you're distributing here what? A -5. So plus, now distribute the -5. -5 and -4 is 20. -5 and 6 is -30. -5 and 8 is -40. -5 and -3 is +15. Correct? Now what are you asked to do? Add. Can we?
No.
No. Why can we not? So at this point, you guys would say dimensions what? Aren't the same.
Did you do that before? Like, or do you have to?
No, because, good question. You can do it at this point because you can't add them, but can you multiply the 4 into the first matrix and the -5 into the second one? Yes. So you have to go as far as you can. You can't just say, oh wait, I can't do that now. Because you can multiply A by 4 and B by -5. You just did it. Now you can't combine them any further.
How do you read the dimensions again? Like I always get confused.
Left and right, same way you would plot a point. You go left and right first, then up and down, right? So it's rows, left and right, by columns, which are up and down.
So for like the 4a, it would be 3 by 2.
So this one right here is how many left and right do I have?
3.
2, left and right,
Oh, okay.
by up and down 3. And the second one is a 2 by 2. So this one is a 2 by 3, and that's a 2 by 2. Can't add them together. Add or subtract, they have to be the exact same dimensions. Think about if you were plotting a point. You go left and right first, and then up and down.
Okay.
So guys, let's look at the next yeah. Oh, sorry, Soph. So next question, what does that say?
Multiply.
Multiply A times C. Does order matter when you multiply matrices?
No.
Yes. A times C is different than C times A. So look, this is what I need to see from you guys. I need you to say, okay, my A matrix, make sure I write this down right. 4, -1, 7. 7, 3, 5, like that. Thank you. And then what is C?
-5, 7, 6, -4, and 4, 9.
-5, 7, 6, -4, 4, 9. All right. Now, what you need to do is show me, yes, you can or no, you can't. How do we know? Chris, how many rows does the first one have? Left and right.
2.
2. By how many up and downs?
3.
Perfect. What about the second one?
It would be
3 by.
3 by 2.
Okay, so you guys just showed me a lot of information just by writing down the dimensions. If the dimensions in the middle are the same, can you multiply?
Yeah.
Yes. When you do that, you have now discovered what your answer is going to look like. It's a what? A 2 by 2. All right. I think that's a really good idea for you guys to do that so you can kind of give yourself a roadmap of what your answer should look like. Now, again, you guys are going to have on my desk all those color pencils. Come in and use them. I don't care. Make it as pretty as you want. Bring highlighters if you want to. Whatever is going to make you see this as easily as possible. But you need to show me what you're adding and all that stuff. So if you make a little mistake with a sign, or you said 4 plus 4 was 9 or something silly like that, I can take off just a point or two and not say, oh, you don't know what you're doing and the whole thing's wrong. How do I find the answer? How do I find out what that entry is right there? Where is that? It's in the first row and the first column. So you're going to multiply first times first. What's 4 and negative 5? Negative 20. Second times second. Negative 1 times 6. Minus 6. Third times third. 7 times 4 is 28. So when you add that together, guys, negative 20 minus 6 plus 28 is 2. Perfect. If you are methodical with this, it's not terribly difficult. If you try to do everything in your head, you're going to get yourself totally confused. Where is this X that I just circled? First row, second column. So we're going to do the same thing. First times first. 4 times 7 is 28. Second times second. Negative 1 and negative 4 is plus 4. And then third and third. 9 times 7 is plus 63. So 28 and 4 is 32. Plus 63 is, there you go. All right, so let's check a different color.
So the numbers on the test can look like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They all need to be around the same.
No. So here, where is that? Second row, first column. So first with first, negative 35. Second with second is what?
18.
Plus 18, perfect. And then third with third, plus 20. What's negative 35 plus 18 plus 20? 3. Perfect. And then lastly, let's do black. Second row, perfect. Second column. So I have 7 times 7 is 49. Second times second, 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. And then 5 and 9 is 45. So 49 minus 12 plus 45. 82. Okay, so there's your answer. Now, nothing of that math was just like, oh my gosh, it's so hard. It's just keeping yourself organized. Use little check marks of different colors, just like we did. Use a highlighter, whatever. Don't try to do too much at one time. Take everything step by step. But do you guys have any questions? If the dimensions in the middle are not the same, can you multiply? No. Okay, good.
And then we would still do that lining up, right? And then just say the dimensions.
Yep, you would just say dimensions aren't the same. Yep. All right, so finding the inverse. There is nothing where you have to prove that one is the inverse of another, but you do have to find the inverse. So when we find the inverse, let's remember the first thing you need to find is the determinant. A times D minus B times C, right? Another thing we need to remember is that we have to use our inverse notation. If it's an A, do A negative 1. If it's a C, do C negative 1. Whatever, just make sure you have the little negative 1 up there. So when we find our determinant, remember it goes underneath here. Right? And then what happens with our A, B's, and our C's and D's? A and D do what? They switch spots. And what happens with B and C? They signs change. So if they are positive, they become negative. If they're negative, they become positive, right? So if we're going to find the inverse for this one, the first thing I'm going to do is 9 times negative 6 minus 7 times negative 8. Biggest thing, guys, is paying attention to signs. Yeah.
So, okay, this is like kind of a dumb question, but A times C minus B times C is, what do you call
That's the determinant.
it?
Mhm.
And then the inverse is like this, when you flip it and.
Yeah. So A times D, this is negative 54 minus, or plus. Negative 7 times negative 8 is plus 56. Good. So this becomes 2. So to find your inverse, let's get it set up. I have A negative 1 equals 1 over 2, right? Switch the places of A and D. So negative 6 goes here, 9 goes here. And I switch the signs of C and B. So negative 7, positive 8. Everybody with me?
It's A, B, C, D, right?
It's A, B, C, D. Yeah.
Where did the 1/2 come from? Because.
Okay, so you're going to find the determinant, and it goes underneath the 1 in front of. So our determinant right here was 2. So 1/2 is the 1 over 2.
Oh.
Yep.
This is pencil.
No. So now we're going to distribute. Guys, anytime you can simplify, you're going to get points off if you don't simplify a fraction. Make sure you do that. So your inverse is A negative 1 equals, when I distribute 1/2, well, negative 6 times 1/2 is going to be negative 3. 1/2 times 8 is 4. You're dividing by 2. This is negative 7/2, and this is positive 9/2. And there is your inverse. Questions?
You said this isn't on the test?
This is on the test.
Are we gonna have one where you have to prove it?
No. Yes.
So you said that the one about determining if
You do not have to prove that one is the inverse of another.
Oh.
All right, so here, let's find the inverse again. Find your determinant first. 8 times negative 4 minus negative 11 times negative 5. Negative 32 minus what? 55 gives you negative 87. Is that an acceptable answer? Sure. That's fine. So you have A negative 1, your inverse notation. It's 1 over your determinant, so that's where our negative 87 goes. And then let's get our numbers fixed up. What happens with 8 and negative 4? They switch spots. So negative 4 goes here, 8 goes here. What happens with negative 11 and negative 5? The signs change. So negative 11 becomes positive, negative 5 becomes positive. And then we do what? We distribute. If something simplifies, simplify it. So a negative times a negative becomes a positive. This becomes negative 5 over 87. This is negative 11 over 87. And this is negative 8 over 87. And that's it. What would happen if my determinant, I multiplied A times D minus B times C, and I got 0? That would tell you there's no inverse. Don't tell me undefined if you get something like that. Don't say no solution, because the question is determine the inverse. If there isn't one, it'll say no inverse, because if you had 1 over 0 and then had to multiply it in, it would be undefined. Everybody with me?
So why? Oh, that's,
Because it's
no problem, so good.
I'm just saying, if that were to happen. All right, and you guys will absolutely have one problem that says solve using Kramer's rule. This is a long problem. This is a tedious problem. You're going to have one. I'm not answering questions on, are these numbers okay? Did I do something wrong? That is what the test is for. I'm answering nothing tomorrow. Nothing. AJ, you hear me? Nothing. Yeah, but I just want to, no.
Either way, the numbers should work out if you plug them back in.
But it says solve using Kramer's rule. So that's the only way. I don't care if you know another way to do it. You have to demonstrate that you can do Kramer's rule. So what do we do?
You have to do like, we'll set up like things.
Okay, I have to find my determinant of my coefficients. What else do I have to find? I have to find determinant of x, d sub x. I have to find d sub y. I have to find d sub z. At this, right now, guys, I'm only doing the determinant and then one of the variables because I'm not doing the whole thing. It's already done for you. It's already worked out. But I want you to understand the process. You guys, make sure all of your x's are lined up. All of your y's are lined up. All of your z's are lined up. right? If you're going to find the determinant of the coefficients, let's figure that out. You guys do not get extra points for saving paper, for being the first one done. So take your time. My coefficients for x are 4, -1, -2. My coefficients for y are -1, -4, and 3, and then 1, 6, -5. Take a second to make sure all your signs are right. You recopy something wrong, and then everything is wrong. So just go back and be like, okay, all my negatives, everything's there. Recopy the first two columns, so 4, -1, -2, then -1, -4, 3. Okay, remind yourself, guys, it's major minus minor. If you do it backwards, you're going to get your signs wrong. Is there a big difference between a negative number and a positive? Yes, so make sure your signs are correct. Again, use your color pencils, whatever you need. But here are our majors. Right here is 1, 2, and 3. Use your problem-solving skills as you guys are multiplying. All right? I have 4 times -4 times -5. Some of you are like, I don't know what 4 times 4 is 16 times, I don't know what that is. Then say, what's -4 times -5? 20 times 4 is what? 80. Okay. Now I have -1 times 6 times -2. 12. Then I have 1 times -1 times 3. -3. Okay, great. Now I have my minors. They go in the other direction. 1, 2, 3. There should be 3 numbers in 3 rows. So -2 times -4 times 1. 8. 3 times 6 times 4. 4 times 3 times 6. 6 times 4 times 3. All of those equal what? 72. Good. -5 times -1 times -1. -5. Perfect. Make sure your signs are right. So 80 plus 12 is 92. Minus 3 gives me 89. Good. Minus 8 plus 72 is 90. 80. Sorry. 80. Minus 5 is 75. So 89 minus 75 is 14. So my determinant value is 14. If you missed this lesson, here's a little recap. What do I do with that 14 for my d sub x, my d sub y, and my d sub z? Good. 14 goes underneath here, goes underneath here, goes underneath here. Do you guys understand, though, if you had this backwards, if you did minor versus major, you would have gotten -14. And then if you're dividing everything by -14, your sign is going to change. So it's not the correct ordered pair. You've got to make sure your signs are right. So now, whichever variable you're finding, what do we plug in that column? Do we plug in the coefficients for the variable or the answers? The answers. Okay, it's very important you guys understand that. Like if I'm going to find d sub y, right? I'm just going to find d sub y. You guys can find x. I already did it for you. Here's x, here's y, here's z. So my x coefficients are 4, -1, and -2, yeah? 4, -1, -2. I do not, since I'm looking for y, I don't plug in the y coefficients. I plug in the answers. So -3, what, 15? -11, okay. And then what are my z's? 1, 6, -5. 1, 6, -5. Recopy the first two columns. 4, -1, -2, -3, 15, -11. If you guys work this out and you get something weird, you get some weird fraction and it's going to be like 397 divided by 112. That's probably not right. Don't try to find your mistake. Just erase it and start over. Trying to find your mistake, sometimes your brain will keep making the same mistake over and over again because it made it the first time. So just start again. Cross it off, start again. So let's find our majors. Majors are top left to bottom right. All right, now let's make sure our math is correct. I'm multiplying 4 times 15 times -5. Or I could say 4 times -5 is -20 times 15, but what does that give me? So -300 plus, what is negative 3 times 6 times negative 2? 36, okay. And then what's 1 times negative 1 times negative 11? Plus 11, okay. Now let's do our other direction. Two times negative 2 times 15 times 1. Negative 30, okay. 6, 4, and negative 11. What's 24 times 11? 24 times 10 is 240.
264.
Plus another 11 is
264. Negative.
minus 264. You guys sure? Okay. Negative 5 times negative 1 times negative 3.
Negative.
What kind of 15? Negative 15, okay? Now, guys, you should be able to find a sign error, if there is one, when you get to this step. What is negative 300 plus 36 plus 11? Negative 300 plus 36 plus 11.
Negative 253.
Negative 253, okay. Minus, what's negative 30 minus 264 minus 15? Negative what?
309.
309. If I have minus a negative, what does that become?
Positive.
Positive, okay. So what's negative 253 plus 309? 56. What do I do with that?
You
Put that
56 over.
I put 56 over 14. All right. Does that divide pretty?
Yes. 4.
Okay. It does divide pretty. It's 4. So the y part of your ordered triple is 4. Now, I'm not saying that tomorrow it's all going to be whole numbers. But say you got 54 over 14. 54 over 14. Can you simplify that? To what?
27.
If you divide it by 2, 27 over 7. Okay, that's not an awful fraction. If you get something like negative 397 over 117, chances are there's a sign error somewhere, okay?
There's some like that on the review, but it won't be on the test.
I don't know. There might be. I am not saying that numbers aren't going to be a certain way, because there's like 5 different versions of the test. But what I'm getting at is you should not get ginormous fractions. If you get a fraction, that could happen. But you should be able to locate a sign error. You shouldn't get like a whole number, negative 1, 3, and then 842 over negative 11, right? That doesn't make sense, guys. So there's probably a sign error in that part of your problem. You understand? Problem solving skills. But again, do not ask me during the test, should I have a number like that? I'm not answering any questions. I'm not. For sure not. Okay? So go over the review, guys. Work the problems out. You don't have this stuff memorized. Work the problems out. Whatever you have questions on, ask me now. But your test is tomorrow. Please be here tomorrow. If you can be here, please be here tomorrow so we don't have another makeup situation. Let's just get this done.
So for like one of those problems, you could have like a fraction, but then like a whole number fraction. Okay.
Yeah, you could have like 3 comma 5 over 2 and negative 1. That's fine. Now, when you get your ordered triple, what can you do to make sure that you're right? You can plug it back in. Now, guys, you got to be careful. And you'll see this with when we do 7.3 part 1. Sometimes you'll get an ordered triple and you have 3 equations and it'll work in 2 of them, but not all 3. So you have to make sure when you get an answer that it makes all 3 equations true. It takes 2 seconds to plug back in. You guys can do that. All right?
Is it with calculator?
No calculator.